hello. We're picking it up in the middle of the banquet, and folks in the banquet were listing off, just saying words about food. And then we get to the part where it's right here. It says, the waiters reappeared immediately, carrying heavy, hot trays, which they set on the table. Each one contained the exact words spoken by the various guests, and they all began eating immediately with great gusto. Dig in, said the king, poking Milo with his elbow and looking disapprovingly at his plate. I can't say that I think much of your choice. I didn't know that I was going to have to eat my words, objected Milo. Of course, everyone here does, the king grunted. You should have made a tastier speech. Milo looked around at everyone, busily stuffing himself, and then back at his own unappetizing plate. It certainly didn't look worth eating, and he was so very hungry. Here, try some somersaults, suggested the Duke. It improves the flavor. Have a rigmarole, offered the Count, passing the bread basket. Or ragamuffin, seconded the minister. Perhaps you'd care for a synonym bun, ha, suggested the Duke. Why not wait for your just desserts, mumbled the Earl, indistinctly, his mouth full of food. How many times must I tell you not to bite off more than you can chew, snapped the undersecretary, patting the distressed Earl on the back. In one ear and out the other, scolded the Duke, attempting to stuff one of his words through the Earl's head. If it isn't one thing, it's another, chided the minister. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, shouted the Count, burning himself badly. Well, you don't have to bite my head off, screamed the terrified Earl, and flew at the others in a rage. All five of them scuffled wildly under the table. Stop that at once, thundered Azaz, or I'll banish the lot of you. Sorry, excuse me, forgive us, pardon, regrets, they apologized in turn, and sat down glaring at each other. The rest of the meal was finished in silence, until the king wiped the gravy stains from his vest, called for dessert. Milo, who had not eaten anything, looked up eagerly. We have a special treat today, said the king, as the delicious smells of homemade pastry filled the banquet hall. By royal command, the pastry chefs have worked all night in the half-bakery to make sure that... The half-bakery? Questioned Milo. Of course, the half-bakery, snapped the king. Where do you think half-baked ideas come from? Now, please don't interrupt. By royal command, the pastry chefs have worked all night to... What's a half-baked idea? Asked Milo again. Will you be quiet? Growled Azaz angrily. But before he could begin again, 3 large serving carts were wheeled into the hall, and everyone jumped up to help himself. They're very tasty, explained the humbug, and they didn't always agree, but they don't always agree with you. Here's one that's very good. He handed it to Milo, and through the icing and nuts, Milo saw that it said, the earth is flat. People swallowed that one for years, commented the spelling bee, but it's not very popular these days, D-A-Y-S. He picked up a long one that stated, the moon is made of green cheese, and hungrily bit off the part that said cheese. Now there's a half-baked idea, he said, smiling. Milo looked at the great assortment of cakes, which were being eaten almost as quickly as everyone could read them. The Count was munching contentedly on, it never rains, but it pours, and the king was busy slicing one that stated, night air is bad air. I wouldn't eat too many of those if I were you, advised Talk. They may look good, but you can get terribly sick of them. Don't worry, Milo replied. I'll just wrap one up for later. He folded his napkin around. Everything happens for the best. I love the half-baked ideas. That was a short half of the chapter. We'll pick it up next time with the Humbug Volunteers.